He literally pissed his pants standing there in Dunkin Donuts the other morning. Michael McLean, I'm an ex-professional hockey coach, ex-amateur championship hockey coach turned 8-figure entrepreneur. I'm a small business owner just like you. I'm a husband, I'm a father. You can grab a free copy of my book, 5 Ways to Unfuck Your Life in the Next 30 Days, by going to brassballsvideos.com. The link's below. It's a 22-page balls to the wall ebook, digital book that you can download or print off, whatever the hell you want to do. 5 ways to unfuck your life in the next 30 days. If that interests you, the link is below. Love to hear what you think about that righteous book. So if I got a story to share with you guys today, this will horrify the cupcakes and the snowflakes and the low testosterone men that haunt my list. But I gotta tell you this story about my daughter, my 11-year-old daughter, Emery, and myself in Dunkin Donuts about a week ago. We always go to Dunkin Donuts. It's my thing right after I walk and after I do my writing. I always hop in the vehicle. It's about 5 minutes away here in Naples. And I go and I grab my extra large coffee. That's my shtick. That's what I do. I don't drink alcohol. I don't have any vices anymore. I've used them all up. But I just love my large coffee when I sit down to read my book every day or to do some writing or write an email. I just love my Dunkin Donuts coffee. And in Canada, where we live in the summer, my Tim Hortons coffee. And from time to time, I take my 11-year-old with me. I spend as much time as I can. So we went into Dunkin Donuts here in Naples the other day, and we're standing there. I love the staff in Dunkin's. I think they're a fantastic group. They do a great job. It's a well-run company, which is very rare. So I love to support them. And every time I go in there every morning, I make sure that my energy is right. I make sure that I have a big smile on my face. I make sure that I hold the door for other people. I make sure that I'm a giver of positive energy. These people are working their asses off. They're getting paid minimum wage in a lot of cases. I know that they get up at 4 in.the morning to get to work for 5:30. I see them coming in if I'm there at 6 a.m. Just the best people you could imagine. They're choosing to work. They're choosing to support their families. They're getting up in the early hours. They're not sitting at home being a parasite or letting the state look after them or playing video games sitting on their couch. They're actual producers, and I have a lot of respect. I grew up in the back of a general store the first 5 years of my life with my mom and dad working 14-hour days every day but Christmas. So I have a lot of respect for people in retail and the hospitality industry, restaurants, bars, stores. I know how hard those people work to improve their lives. So I tip the hat to those people at Dunkin Donuts. Salt of the earth. And I walk in there with my daughter the other morning, and I'm waiting in the line, and then it's my turn, and I order my extra large coffee, and my daughter orders something, which is a rare treat for her. And this guy walks in. He looks like he's about in his 40s, and he's got the cell phone out. He's about 30 pounds overweight, and you can just feel the energy as soon as he walks in the door, right? He's one of those vampires, one of those time vampires, one of those energy vampires. As soon as he walks into a room, he sucks the life out of it. You know people like that. You want to be that person who walks into a room and fills it with positivity, fills it with good feelings, good energy. So this guy does the exact opposite of what I'm always wanting to do when I walk into a room. And my daughter's with me, which is a good thing, because I mean, it was a good thing. This is a teaching moment for a father, somebody who actually wants to teach their kids what being a stand-up person or a real man is like. So I get the girls getting my coffee, and it's busy. We're there. It's not a normal day. They're understaffed in these places. They have been since the lockdowns, and they're doing their best, and it's really busy. So then you have this punch-drunk tomato can come through the door, and he's one of these iPhone junkies who, he never looks up. He's got his coffee or his breakfast sandwich, whatever it is. He's done it on the app, right? So he gets out of his car and he runs into Dunkin Donuts. He doesn't give a shit about the people that are waiting patiently in line. He doesn't speak to anybody. He doesn't hold the door, just kicks open the door, and he goes right to those app where people on their apps get their pickup. I think, by the way, those are the worst things for a business. You got people in the drive-through, you got people like me standing there every day, and these low IQ yahoos walk in and they stand there tapping their fingers, waiting for the person to hand them their coffee or their sugar drink or whatever the hell it is they're eating or drinking. And I know it's marketed as jump the line, but when you think about it, if I was running a Dunkin Donuts or if I was running a Tim Hortons, I wouldn't want the tomato cans, my bottom 10% customer, jumping the line in front of my buyers, my top people. I'm a buyer. I never miss. I leave a tip for the girls every day. I'm a buyer. And when you see this kind of stuff, you're like, wow, that's something else. So he walks in, he thinks he has a better pot to piss in, but then he makes a critical mistake because yours relentless is in the building. You have to remember, I'm a former pro hockey coach, minor pros. I coached hockey in the low levels of pro. I'm talking the Wild West. I wasn't in the NHL. I wasn't in the AHL. I was in the United League and the Colonial League. If you want to think a snapshot, think Slapshot. Think the movie Slapshot with the Hanson brothers. And that'll kind of give you an idea of my life as a pro coach when I was in my 20s. I was the youngest pro coach, assistant coach, and head coach eventually. And literally, it was the Hatfields and the McCoys. Every game was a bloodbath. Every road trip was a bloodbath. These players, the best salt of the earth people in the world, guys, making $400 a week, $500 a week, some of them $1,000 a week, playing the sport they love, like literally supporting their families and their children. We weren't taking jets. We were on the Iron Lung. We were taking bus trips 4 hours, 8 hours, 16 hours. We had one bus trip. We do twice a year, 30 hours on the Iron Lung, and then, get out and play a couple of games. So it was the Wild West. I grew up in locker rooms since I was 3 years old. My dad would take me in the locker rooms. I've been around Hall of Fame NHL players. I've been around Hall of Fame athletes. I grew up in a locker room. Anytime my dad would go to the arena, he'd take me with him. So I've seen it all in terms of grit and determination and toughness. I know what winning looks like. I know what losing looks like. I know that there's no reason to put people on pedestals. I've had lunch. I've had everything with Hall of Fame athletes, the best of the best. And they're just people. They're just people. So in this case, I grew up around a lot of violence in sport. Hockey's one of the more, violent sports. There's still fighting in the game. So I'm comfortable with that. I'm comfortable with fighting. I'm comfortable with fighting in the sport of hockey. I always had the least penalized team. I always had the teams that had the least number of fights because I'm a disciple of discipline and mental toughness, not emotional drunkenness. The key to winning in all sports is not taking penalties, right? So even though I'm comfortable with all that stuff, I made my name in pro and in amateur as a team owner and championship coach by being the toughest and least penalized team year after year. We were the toughest mentally and physically, but we literally would always finish at the bottom when it came to penalty minutes. That's real toughness. Like my mentor, Wayne Maxner, used to coach the Detroit Red Wings, used to say, you want to be tough, be mentally tough. He was never fooled by cowards and posers and frauds and actors. There's tough and there's fake tough. So this guy walks in and he stands up at the counter. Literally, the girls are doing everything they can. There's like 3 or 4 other people waiting at the jump the line for their stuff, and at the counter where I was, they're probably 5 or 6 deep. And everybody's patient. Everybody realizes they're greatly understaffed. They're under pressure. They're doing the best they can. Plus, it's the morning rush. Well, no, not this guy, not this poodle. He stands there, and I slide up beside him, right? I'm pretty close to him. I pay, and I go to wait for my coffee as well, which is going to take a little bit of time. I'm not in a hurry. I'm talking to my daughter. And all of a sudden, he starts verbally abusing the staff behind the counter. He starts verbally abusing the staff behind the counter. He's only been standing there maybe for 30 seconds. And he's saying things like, hey, like talking to them like a dog. He's like, hey, where's my drink? What, come on, and just being a complete and total tomato can. So the problem in today's world is that stuff is tolerated. It's tolerated by people that own companies. It's tolerated by husbands, fathers. It's tolerated by leaders. It's tolerated with people. And I've always had a rule in business. If anybody ever abused a staff member of mine, whether in the insurance business, the barbershop business, this business, I immediately cut the rope and fire their ass. And that's it. There's no coming back. Abuse my staff, whether Marc-Andre, my business partner, or whether my executive assistant, anybody is a jackass, or anybody verbally abuses, or anybody's if I even get a whiff that a person is a problem, that they're an energy vampire or a time vampire, they're gone. I don't care whether they're paying 50 grand a year, whether they're paying $5. Does not matter to me. If you can't behave like a top 1%er and show respect for my team, then you're going to be gone and you ain't coming back. In the insurance business, I had 23 employees, and we took 340 phone calls a day. So we dealt with the great unwashed. We dealt with a lot of the great unwashed arses, put it that way. And at the end of every 6-month term, I would have a stand-up meeting where I'd say to my service reps, the girls that were on the phone all day, I would say, listen, I want you to make a list of anybody that we don't make any money, they're a vampire, they're an energy vampire, and they treat the staff badly. Make a list. It could be 2 people, it could be 5 people, it could be 10 people. And it was amazing exercise because I did it for a decade, which made me, like, my staff was like, wow, loyalty in our businesses goes right through the roof when a person like you, the leader, the CEO, the founder, stands up and says early on, we're not going to tolerate any of this abuse. So I did that in the insurance business, the barbershop business, the hockey business, the window cleaning business, in this business. And it was interesting because they would always give me 3 or 4 names each, dealing with 6,000 clients each, and they give me 2 or 3 or 4 names every year. And they'd say, Michael, I spend 80% of my time with this jackass. And I wouldn't even ask a question. I'm like, send him the letter. We're non-renewing. Or if he's a barbershop client or whatever, they're gone. You curate, you swift sword, you cut the rope, they're gone. Never speak of them again. Once you take the trash out to the curb, you don't make the mistake of bringing it back in. And you literally curate these tomato cans, these vampires out of your business. And I remember my staff would stand 3 inches taller after this happened. And every year I was just firing the bottom 2%, 3% of my company. Just like the great Jack Welch said, we should all be firing, and this is back in the day, now it should be 30%. You should be firing the bottom 10% of your clients or your customers. Those are the time vampires, the energy vampires, but they're also the people you don't make any money. You have a large percentage of customers or patients or clients that it's a not-for-profit. It's a soup kitchen, a halfway house. If you tolerate that stuff, if you tolerate bad behavior, you're just running a soup kitchen. You're just running a not-for-profit because you don't make any money off those types of people. And basically, you're running a halfway house. Well, he might get better. He's not so bad all the time. So I have no time for whatsoever. I will not have anybody in my life be abused mentally, physically, verbally. And I used to tell my staff when I had 23 people, if the phone call ever gets to me, because I didn't take any phone calls, it's a problem. That means it's a problem. And I can't tell you how many times in 17 years in the insurance business where, and I didn't deal belly to belly any longer. I would walk out or I'd be on the phone with somebody who insisted on talking to Michael. I want to talk to Michael. I've never been talked to like this before. We recorded phone calls, by the way. So I would call the person back after listening to the phone call when he called our receptionist every name in the book or called my sales guy every name in the book. And then I'd call this individual back on a rare occasion and I would say, Joe, I hear you had a problem with Brian, or I hear, Joe, that you had a problem with Ann. I just want to let you know. Sometimes they'd be like, I can't believe it. I've never been so disrespected. That person they don't know how to serve. It's the worst service ever. Expecting me to agree, expecting me to go talk to Brian or Ann, but I don't play their games. I don't play punch-drunk tomato can games. So just like in my hockey career, coaching in the wild, wild west, I'd say, listen, George or John or whatever your name is, I just want to let you know that I just got finished listening to the phone call. We recorded every phone call there was in the building all the time. And I said, I heard the conversation. I listened to your side of it and her side of it. And I just want to let you know that you're no longer a client. We will be refunding your money. We will be whatever. This hasn't worked. And I'm just letting you know personally, you're no longer a client and you're not welcome to return. And that's the end of the conversation. And most of these guys like that dingbat in Dunkin Donuts. They don't come at you anymore. They're lions into lambs. They're mice into men. I learned that coaching in the Colonial League. Max used to say, Michael, he's just a mice into a man. He's not really tough. He's just acting tough. So I wouldn't tolerate it. So at Dunkin Donuts, they shouldn't tolerate it. You're dealing with the general public. You're going to get a lot of it. So the girl's back there. He raises his voice and, where's my drink and all this other stuff. And anyway, so I continue walking right up to him. And I say, hey, what's your problem? And I'm 6 inches from his face, standing beside him. I've already pegged this guy because I watched him come in. I already saw him on his phone. I saw his energy. I know he's a lamb, not a lion. And he's picking up quickly on the energy that I'm a lion. Has nothing to do with size, has nothing to do with age, has nothing to do with the color of your skin, has nothing to do with language or swearing or any of that stuff. None of that happened. My daughter's with me. I said, and I'm this close, and he knows he's in trouble because he's a lamb, not a lion. He knows that I've pegged him as a mouthpiece who's trying to be. He's a mouse. He's a mice who thinks he's a man, but he's actually just a little boy. He's not a man. He's just a little boy who has grown into a man, a physical body. So he's a little cupcake. He's a little snowflake. He's angry. He's frustrated. He hates himself. He hates his life, but he doesn't have the balls to take accountability for his life. He doesn't have the balls to take responsibility for his life. He doesn't have the guts to improve himself. So everybody that he talks to in a day, they get that. Mice into men, right? Mice into men. But not a good day for him because he ran into the 1 in 1,000 who doesn't play that game. I don't play the mice into men. I don't play the tough guy. I don't play any of that. And I don't play the game of abusing people, hardworking people. So I stick up for them. That's what a king does. That's what a badass does. Now, I'm so happy my daughter's here to see it. Because my daughter, we have a relationship you can't imagine because of time. We spend all our time together. I'm hard on her. I challenge her. I do everything I can to build her character, her integrity, her work ethic, and ultimately her self-esteem. She'll go as far as her self-image and her self-esteem, so I build it. I challenge her to do more than she even thinks she can do, whether it's math, whether it's chess, whether it's business, whether it's school, whether it's horseback riding. And then when she does more than she thought was possible, that's how you build self-esteem. So she's with me. So a lot of poodle dads would be like, well, this isn't the spot. This is exactly the spot. This is the lesson I want my kid to remember, that she tells her husband, that she tells anybody she dates, she tells her kids about. I want it to be that memorable. How a real man or woman stands up for people that need to be protected. So I'm 6 inches from this guy's face. He's got the khaki pants on. He's got the golf shirt. So he's a bootlicker. This guy works in a cubicle. He's got the thing on his hip there, the plastic tag. So he's a bootlicker. He makes his 60 grand and they own him. He's a slave to somebody. And he hates the reflection in the mirror. Doesn't stop me. So I said, and here's a little tip for you, okay? If you ever want to scare the bejesus out of somebody, I learned this in the Wild Wild West. Some of the toughest characters you could ever imagine. Slapshot. I said, talk to a person close and quietly. Instead of everything you see today, which is the outrageous yelling and screaming, look at me, how tough I am, look at me. A real tough guy doesn't do any of that stuff. They don't cuss, they don't swear, they don't lose their composure. That's called emotional drunkenness. That's weakness. That's not strength, that's weakness. So I'm this close to this guy's face and I said, can you not see that those girls back there, they're doing the very best they can? They're understaffed. They're doing the best they can. But he's got a little bit of piss left in him. And he says to me, well, I'm fucking late. So I step in 3 inches closer. And this is where it all comes. He's going to crumble, right? Nobody wants bad blood face to face. My dad taught me that. Nobody wants bad blood face to face unless you're a psychopath. This guy was a mouse, not a psychopath. And I said to him, I said, don't ever swear in front of my daughter again. Again, no swearing, calm, almost like chilling. And I'm 3 inches from his face. And I said, and don't let me ever see you come in here and talk negatively to these people, abuse these people, treat these people poorly, or you're going to deal with me. And he says, he's shaking. And my daughter is just right beside me, and she's like, you can just tell, right? She's like, this is the greatest moment of my life. And I said, you're going to come in here from now on, if you come in here, and you're going to treat these ladies with respect. And I lean in even closer, and I talk even lower. Or you and I can step outside, and we can settle this ourselves. 7 a.m. We can step outside right now, onto the sidewalk in front of Dunkin Donuts. We can settle this man to man right now. He looks at me, his voice is quivering. He says, no. He says, I got no problem with you, brother. I got no problem, something like that. He's shaking. And I said, okay. I said, I come here every day. The girls have stopped behind the counter. They're standing there. They can't believe what they're seeing. Nobody can hear what we're saying, okay? There's no scene other than the fact that people can feel the energy that a king has risen. When a king does not rise, the kingdom dies. If I don't stand up for those people, I don't give a shit whether it's in public or whether it's at church. But he ain't behind his keyboard anymore. He ain't on social media anymore. He's in front of me. And I'm comfortable with all this. My heart rate wouldn't have went over 60 beats. I'm comfortable with this. This is my old territory. Fear no man. So my daughter's there. She's seeing this master class in do the right thing. The people sitting there are seeing this master class in do the right thing. The staff back there are seeing this master class and they can't hear. Nobody can hear a word because I'm this close to his face. They can see him. The color drains out of his face. He drops his cell phone, his iPhone. He's so nervous, he drops his cell phone after I'm this close to him, right? But he doesn't pick it up. He doesn't dare pick it up. Everybody's watching. The place is in complete silence. You could hear a pin drop, and nobody knows what's being said. They just know that when the king rises, the kingdom rises. A lot of these people working there, God bless them, nobody stood up for them in their whole lives. Nobody showed them how a husband or a father or a man needs to behave in this real world. And finally I said, okay, and my coffee comes. And the girls hand me the coffee, and I go to reach and grab it. My daughter's right beside me. And then and only then do I step back. Because silence is golden, right? Lower your voice, silence, eye to eye, belly to belly. And he goes down to pick up his cell phone off the ground. He's an iPhone junkie. And Emery looks at him, and I look at him because I grab my coffee and turn. He doesn't know whether to leave first or leave second. He's afraid of going outside. And admittedly, he should be. If my daughter isn't there, he should be afraid of going outside. I'm not going to assault him because I don't want to sit in jail for 24 hours. But maybe it wouldn't have ended right there. I'm comfortable either way. But my daughter's there, so I'm a more noble guy. And my message has been received. So he bends down to pick up the phone, and Emery stares at him and I stare at him. And he's got a stain on his khaki pants, because I remember he had the plastic thing, the identification tag. And from his groin, his crotch, right down to his knee in these light khaki, light brown pants, there's a stain 2 feet long. A massive wet stain. The fucker pissed himself. The little mouse pissed himself. The tomato can peed his pants. That's not easy to do. That's not easy to do. And we leave, and he stayed. He pretended he had to stir his coffee. He wouldn't have got over that. And I'll tell you, next time I can guarantee you he would have thought twice before he went in and abused anybody in any situation. I mean, that guy, he was worn out. He pissed himself. And maybe if somebody had talked to him like that when he was 5 years old instead of 45, he would have been a different guy. But he wasn't. So when the king doesn't rise, the kingdom dies. Not on my watch. So that was my little, I did it for the country and the community. And I did it for my kid to see so that she can tell that story long after I'm gone. Long after I'm in the choir invisible and I'm long time dead. She's going to be able to tell that story to her son, her daughter, her kids, her grandkids, her husband. You should have seen the day when Daddy made this guy piss his pants in Dunkin Donuts. I'm not a tough guy. I'm not a tough guy. I'm a principled guy. I'm a principled guy. If I see something I don't like, I'm not afraid to speak up. It's the only thing that's going to save our country, only thing that's going to save our children, is when men like you see something they don't like, and you have the balls, the mental balls, or the ovaries, to stand up and say, no, enough, never again. And yes, you fix it one tomato can at a time. You do fix it one tomato can at a time. You should have seen the drive home in the Escalade. It's only about 5 minutes. You know how I said my daughter and I have a special relationship? And she's going to judge every man, and she's going to expect every man to treat her exactly how her father treats her, right? That's the thing. I didn't know that before I became a father. My relationship with her is just as important as her relationship with her mom. Maybe more for a young girl, because she's going to look at every man in her life and she's going to measure them according to me. So I better be up to snuff. I better be on my game all the time. I better not be taking days off. I better not be some tomato can who's there but not really there. But I gotta tell you, when we got back in the vehicle, I let her talk, right? Admittedly, I was tired after that. I was invigorated, but it's like after I shoot a video or after I win a big hockey game or after I run a mastermind, I'm exhilarated. But mentally, I'm a little bit drained. I admit that. So, you know what? We drove the 5 minutes home, and I gotta say, you know, my daughter, we have a special connection, but after standing up for those people, my daughter thinks I can fly. I want a special connection with my daughter. I want to earn it every day. I want her to love and respect other people. I want her to be empathetic, compassionate. I don't want her to ever be sympathetic. I want her to think for herself. I want her to think deeply every day. I want her to be an independent thinker in person. I want her to build her own world. But in the meantime, because I stood up for somebody that needed standing up for, no swearing, no cussing, no threats, she thinks I can fly. That's how a super, you want to be a superhero in your own home? You want to be a hero in your own home? You want applause at home? You want applause at home? Man, that might go down as one of the greatest days of my life. Walking in that house after and her telling Krista the story. Wow, there's not a drug on the planet that could have made me feel better about those people at Dunkin Donuts, about helping them, about standing up, and the lesson that my daughter learned. That's how you should feel as a king and a champion. That's it. I have nothing more to say on that. Mice into men, not on my watch. Keyboard, tough guys, not in my world. By the way, click the link below if you're interested in my brand new ebook. It's free. I don't make a dime, okay? Just so we're clear, it's free. You can print it off, do whatever you want, but it's free. And if you want to pay me back for the 5 ways to unfuck your life in the next 30 days, if it helps you, that took me a long time to write that. It's 22 pages. If it helps you live life and do business on your own terms, if it helps you king up, if it helps you in any way, and you want to thank me because I don't get a single penny, nor do I want one, it's my legacy, this stuff, then write in the comment below how it helped you. How has one of those ways helped you? That's the way you can thank me if you want to thank me. If you don't want to thank me, that's fine too. Or you can also email my business partner below, Mark, M-A-R-C, at badassmillionaire.com. Mark will put his email below as well. So there's 2 ways. After you study it, you share it, you show it to your adult children, you share it with anybody that needs that message, anybody that has to get their shit together. We all have to get our shit together. brassballsvideos.com. And I would appreciate a comment if it's helpful. And I would appreciate an email if that works even better, if you want to keep it all confidential. When the king does not rise, the kingdom dies. 2 words that changed my life. 2 words that'll change your life. Be relentless.